حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
The five pillars, they're broken, and you have disbelief in any of that, then you're not believing Muslim.
Good evening and welcome to Evening Interview. I'm Raquel Steinberg, your host, and tonight we are doing an Islamic profile with Imam Habibullah Subhan Mahdi. Hello, Imam.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Okay, why don't we just get right down to the subject at hand. First things first. Who is Allah?
Allah is the God of the believing Muslim world. Allah, to the believing Muslim world, is the creator of the heavens and earth. Allah has never been seen by any of creation. He is the absolute. Allah knows all things. He is everywhere simultaneously. But reason why we use the word Allah, because Allah is, it's like you have Ilah and Allah. Ilah mean God. Allah, which you put in the definite article, the al, which mean the God. So every time whoever say Allah, they're saying the God, the God. Whereas in English, you speak English, you just say God, when one should say the God, you know, because many things can be God. You know, a man can worship a woman can worship materialism, children can worship sports. Just an example of different things that can be worshipped. And in Hebrew, it's Elohim. So that's saying God too. So then it's the God in Hebrew.
Okay.
Or should I say Ivrit, that's the proper name for Hebrew. So this God, he created the entire universe. He created heaven, and he created we see as the stars, created the solar systems, the galaxies, the Milky Ways, created all elements.
Okay. What is the organization that you are representing?
Oh, well, I have a non-profit organization that I represent and a profitable organization that I represent. The non-profit organization is Al Jayukoa Masjid Jihad, Allahu Akbar.
When was the start of Islam?
The start of Islam is basically when Allah created the universe. Because Islam is, that all things submit to Allah, willingly and unwillingly. That's what Islam is. And so the universe itself is Islam. But to deal with another level, we have prophets and messengers who have delivered the message of Allah through the religion of Islam.
Okay. What is the foundation of Islam concerning human law?
The foundation of Islam concerning human law is that, as I mentioned, the prophets. They are the ones who carry out the message of Allah. You have different types of people in creation, and some are more in tune or are closer or nearer to the creator of the heavens and earth than others, for the reason that the creator of heaven chose these men. And we look at as prophets. Whether you're Jew, Christian, or Muslim, we believe that prophets exist. And we have like 25 mentioned in Al-Quran, and that's the sacred book of the Muslim world, the holy book of the Muslim world, the believing Muslim world. And those prophets are Adam, Idris, Noah, Hud, Salih, Ibrahim, Ishmael, Ishaq, Yaqub, Yusuf, Ayub, Shuaib, Musa, Harun, Lut, Yunus, Al-Yasay, Zulkifli, Dawood, Sulaiman, Elisa, Zachariah, Yahya, and Isa, and Muhammad ibn Abdullah. May the peace and blessing of Allah be upon them all. When I say Isa, the Christian world knows him as Jesus Christ. Okay. So when I say Sulaiman, the Christian or Western world know him as Solomon. When I say Dawood, the Christian world, the Western world know him as David. And when I say Yahya, the Christian world, the Western world know him as John the Baptist. So these men are the foundation and as the lawbringers to mankind, genkind, I would say, because genkind, it categorizes people into four sections. And they was revealed, Allah revealed revelation to these men, saying this is the law that all people must live by. And this is the start of Islam. And he gave them the command to teach Islam.
Okay, well, we're going to take a little break, and we'll be right back in a little short while. Please join us. Thanks for joining us back here again. Once again, I'm with Imam Habibullah Subhan Mahdi. Sorry, I probably screwed up your name again. And we're doing an Islamic profile. The next question I wanted to ask you is, what are the fundamental beliefs of Islam?
The fundamental beliefs of Islam is that there are 7 principles of Islam, and also they have like 5 pillars of Islam. The 7 fundamental principles of Islam is to believe in the oneness of Allah, and it's used as La ilaha illallah. You bear witness that there's no God but Allah. Regardless of what there is in the entire universe or what one may say is God, you bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and yet He is uncreated. The second one is to believe in His angels. He have angels that do, commanded to do certain duties. You have the death angels, and two of those. You have the angels who control nature. Angels control wind, air, fire. You have angels who bring revelation. The angel Gabriel, or Jabril, what we would say in Arabic. You have angel who consist of other elements, because this one angel, he is so huge, he's huger than the earth, and he's consist of his body half fire and half snow, and he's constantly weeping. He said, "Oh Allah, you have joined fire and snow together. Why not join mankind together?" And he's constantly weeping, even as we speak now. He'll be weeping from the beginning of time till the end of time. So, yeah, angels, and then you have to believe in the books. The books of Allah. Allah mentioned when I was talking about the prophets, I mentioned the prophets, the 25 prophets that Allah has commanded to come to earth, you know, and do His will. You have the prophet Solomon, you know, you have the prophet Moses, you have the prophet Isa, who, you know, the Western world called Jesus, and you have Muhammad ibn Abdullah. And the reason why I mentioned those four prophets, and I should say David also, because, you know, that's Solomon's father. And Allah revealed revelation to them, and the reason why I mention them because their revelation is still here among us. Whereas Moses, you have the Torah. The Jews embraced that book, and then you have the Zabur that was given to David and Solomon, and they kept that together. And then you have the Injil that was given to Isa, whom the Western world called Jesus, Jesus Christ, and they call that the gospel. And then you have Al-Quran that was revealed to Muhammad ibn Abdullah. And may the blessing of Allah be upon them all. So that, and then you have to believe also in the prophets, which I did mention, the 25 prophets. Adam, Idris, Noah, Hud, Salih, Ibrahim, Ishmael, Ishaq, Yaqub, Yusuf, Ayub, Shuaib, Musa, Harun, Lut, Yunus, Al-Yasay, Zulkifli, Dawood, Sulaiman, Elisa, Zachariah, Yahya, Isa, and Muhammad ibn Abdullah. May the blessing of Allah be upon them all, the 25 prophets. There were many prophets in between Adam and Muhammad ibn Abdullah, up to 2,500 to, you know, but not, you can add and take away because of revelation being lost here and there.
Right.
Then we believe in the moment of resurrection. You know, a lot of people don't think they'll be resurrected from the dead, but these are the belief of religious people. Then believe in the moment of judgment. A lot of people think that moment won't ever come. So, you know, they freely do what they want to do. And then last, but not least, is al-jihad. Muslims must believe in al-jihad. That people try to water down that last one. They may say the supremacy of divine will of God. But Allah said, any who weaken his religion, he said he shall curse them. He said, any who add to it, he shall curse them. Any who take away from it, he shall curse them. So it's not a good idea for people to try to take that away out of one of the principles of Islam, because that is a major aspect of Islam that must not be neglected, you know. So this is the belief, the seven principles of Islam. To believe the oneness of Allah, believe in His angels, believe in His books, believe in the prophets, believe in the moment of resurrection, believe in the moment of judgment, or the last day, and to believe in al-jihad. And as I said, the five pillars of Islam, which you also will find in the books. It's again, after one learn this, understand this, then I would come back to that person. If I was teaching him Islam or her Islam, I would teach him the 7 principles first, thoroughly, and also make them read. Say this is obligatory that you read the whole book, go through it, and I will go through it with them. You can read it in 30 days because it's broken down into 30s, and read a part a day. Make sure that they understand. Then I will come back to that person. You sure you want to be Muslim? No. Believe in Muslim. There's a difference. And then I would give them the 5 pillars. I would teach them the 5 pillars. They bear witness that there's no God but Allah. Teach them how to pray 5 times a day, appointed times. And teach them about zakat. Teach them fasting during the month of Ramadan. Teach them that they must make the greatest intention to go to Mecca at least once in a lifetime, if circumstance permit them to do so. So this is the fundamental beliefs of Islam. And if these things are broken, any of them, the 5 pillars, they're broken, you have disbelief in any of that, then you're not believing Muslim. Automatically, you don't have to consider them as a believing Muslim. You're not Muslim. You don't believe in the 7 and the 5 pillars.
Tonight is your last night. And last night, when you say them principles, you better let them out like you don't want to cross. You don't want to cross. Drink some more water. Open that throat up. Open that throat up.
You don't want to cross,
look at you.
bro.
Look at you. Open that throat up. Open it up. Open it up. Go get some more water. Go get some more water. Look at him. Look at him. Look at him. I hear you. I hear you, Pledgy. One. Are you still thirsty? Are you still thirsty?
Yes, sir, big brother, sir.
You want some more water?
Yes, sir.
You sure?
Yes, sir.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir, big brother Habibullah,
I
sir.
don't
Watch
think you
out,
want
bro.
no more
Watch out.
water.
You want some water? Watch out. Here you go. Here you go. You want some water? Watch out.
Nah, he needs
It's
some
time
wood.
for this.
He needs
That's what
some
time
wood.
it is.
Some wood.
Get in the pop out. Pop out.
Pop out. I hear you. Get in the cut.
Resume that position, boy.
All right, I hear you, bro.
Well, hold on, yeah, assume that position. I want to hear when
You want some wood?
I want to hear.
You want to cross the burning sands
Yes,
now?
sir, big brother, sir.
You
No,
was
he
talking
don't.
about
He don't even know his
spring of
information.
Zamzam.
He don't even know his damn information. He can't drink the water.
I got something for him.
Valid belief!
All right,
Valid what? Valid prayer!
All right, now. You know how to pray, though, right?
Yes, sir,
You
big
gonna
brother.
taught you how to
Habibullah,
pray,
sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
That's what you about to
You
know how to make your 5
That's what you about to do.
a day, right?
Yes, sir, big brother, sir.
Who is the one God and only God?
Allah.
Never forget that.
Yes, sir.
Never
big
forget
brother,
that. You understand?
Sir. Never.
He might make it. He might make it. You think he'll make it?
What is those 2 lines you just said when you was getting that wood?
Valid belief, valid prayer.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What happened to the other brothers that was online with you?
I have no idea, sir.
I thought that was...
When he asked you that, I say they flew like the eagle.
What happened to them brothers that was online with you?
They flew like the eagle.
No, I ain't say that. I say they flew like the eagle.
What happened to them brothers online with you?
They flew like the eagle.
I ain't see that hand say they flew like the eagle. Look at
They
me.
flew like the eagle.
Look at me.
big
They
brother,
flew
nice
like the eagle.
They flew like the eagle?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين.
You're not a believing Muslim.
Okay. Now, with all that in mind, concerning the attack on America in New York City, the World Trade Center, and the nation's Pentagon, is this the definition of jihad?
You're saying is jihad is the definition, the situation that happened in New York City
Right.
and Pentagon and near Washington, Pentagon. Is this definition of jihad? Definitely all Muslims everywhere in the entire world, as I just explained, believe in jihad. Jihad is the struggle against evil, whether evil is internally and externally. When you're dealing with, people who want to bomb or kill. My thing is to study their profile, their personal profile, their academic background, what caused them to do such a thing, why people go either go bomb other countries. Why? You have to go back and, because in Islam, Allah has commanded Muslims to fight against oppression, prosecution. We are Americans. You know, we was born in America. And one thing about that situation, with me being a believing Muslim, it's never country before God, it's always God before country. A lot of people put country before God, which is a no-no in Islam. So the thing is to find out why they did this. And a lot of people a lot of believing Muslims look at America being the great Satan. You know, especially foreign Muslims, they look at America as being the great Satan. Why do they look at America as being the great Satan? I think Americans, because they have already said, well, we're going to war against Muslims. We're going to, any Muslim who believe in jihad, we're going to, they are terrorists. So I think that was a bad statement to make, for anybody to make, because that's saying you're going to have to kill all Muslims because this is their belief. If you say you're going to kill Muslims because they believe in jihad, you're going to attack Muslims, we're going to, because anybody who believes in jihad, they are terrorists, then you have to kill every Muslim in the entire world, if they are true believing Muslims. Because jihad means the struggle against evil within yourself and evil in the world. So the thing is to find out, and it's dangerous because you have Muslims in the United States who came up in this country, who may be descendants of slaves, or descendants from the Indian tribe, and they even carrying a grudge because of their past history. And even not only that, the foreign Muslim may look at America as being a Satan, but you have these Muslims who say, well, I'm living proof that these people are evil. And then you have to say to yourself, well, hold up, we all came from the same place. You got to go back to Adam. You got to go back to, see, this fight is not, it's not just because it happened yesterday. This is not a yesterday thing. You know, people got to understand we all came from the same source. And so once you understand that you came from the same source, then you got to say, well, we got a problem here. What does the law of God say? So, whether you're looking at the slaves or the Indians, they feel like, hey, we was slaughtered. Our lands was totally taken. You may look at the slaves, whether it's during the colonial slaves, or whether it was during the colonial Revolutionary War, whether it was during the antebellum period, whether it was during the Civil War and Reconstruction period, the post-Reconstruction period, and you think about all these different periods that, whereas people had their grievance against America. So to define these different radicals, one may say, or are they radicals? See, we have to ask ourselves all these questions. We have to look at ourselves and say, and look in our borders and say, well, if I'm going to attack these foreign Muslims, because then these guys, you got to remember, Muslim is very conscious who his brother is, what his belief is, and he's saying, all right, now, let's deal with this situation at home first, because they said all Americans are united because of this situation. All Americans are not united, and to project that to the masses and feed them this false vision that all Americans are united, you cause people to get hurt like that. Lives will be taken like that, because you moving forward with a project when you have a lot of resistance that is hidden. Walk amongst these people every day. Allah reveals in Quran, he said, what will make thee realize what hell is? It leaves now and spares now. It scorches the mortal. Over it are 19. And we have made none but angels wardens of the fire. And those whom we have given the book, that they may be certain. And those who we have given the book and the believers may increase in faith. What does Allah mean by this parable? Then Allah reveals, he said, Allah leads in error whom he pleases, and he guides whom he pleases, and none knows the host of thy Lord but he. And this is nothing but a reminder to the mortals. So the Muslim got to understand what 19 is. You just can't go out and bomb people. You can't do it because you have like the rational, the spiritual, the academic, the religious, the political, the model society, and you have the valid truth, which we call Al-Quran. So if you don't seek solutions through these forms, and you jump to the higher form, then you have just abrogated yourself, taking yourself out of the practice of Islam. But then, as far as a foreigner, he may have already tried all these things. He may have tried the political, he may have tried the academic thing, he may have tried all these approaches, because you got to remember that you have different groups. How old is that group? Maybe they have been approaching our country about certain things, or maybe our country have been bombing them. We don't know. Our country do a lot of bombing. You understand? And maybe they have been constantly approaching them, and maybe they say, well, we're going to retaliate, you know. So there's a lot of war going on. There's no mistake about that. Desert Storm, for example. Desert Storm, it's all about land control. It's all about land control. And does jihad defines what happened at the Trade Center. If the person who bombed that, the person that came, his group saying this is what defines, I can't attack the Muslim about jihad because jihad is part of my religion. I don't know what level he's on, but that's a confrontation that whoever you attack gonna have to deal with that, whoever he, you know, between the two leaders. And if Bush decide to go at that particular group, then, you know, it's going to be a clash. Allah says something in Al Quran that Islam shall triumph over all religions in the world. And we come back to the religion again. And that's when we have to come back as religious believing people. We have to come to what the Supreme Being said. Christians and the Muslims and the Jews, without a doubt, they're going to have to come together and practice the law of God. That's the bottom line. People don't want to look at it like that. They don't want to accept that. But that's the bottom line. They're going to have to come together and practice the law of God, and they're going to have to practice it not only in their rituals, in their mosques, their synagogues, or their churches, but they're going to have to practice it in society. If you sell alcohol in society, your country sell alcohol in society, a prostitution going on in your society, anything that's negative, that's you gambling, you got casinos like in Vegas, you got these things going on in your society. As a leader of that society, and you representing, you know, you always putting God, say we are God's people. You know, we're going in the name of God, we're going to get them, and we're going to. How can you mention God's name if you got a casino in your country? You got prostitution, you got drug addicts. You got to get rid of that stuff. God is not going to be with you. And the same thing for the foreigners. If you're going in the name of God, and you say, well, we're doing it in the cause of God. If you're killing somebody illegally, and you're prosecuting, or just killing for wealth and materialistic stuff, then God gonna watch the two devils kill each other. Gonna watch the two devils, and Allah said He can put in a new creation. He revealed this in Al-Quran. He said he can build a new creation. It doesn't, with God, if this whole thing, Earth go, matter of fact, not just Earth, because we're always going to the moon. Let's say our whole solar system go, because we know that galaxies do collide. And if a galaxy collide, that's the end of everything that's in that galaxy. And the solar system is in the galaxy. So if Allah calls our galaxy, which we're in, to collide with another galaxy, that's the end of us anyway. And he could bring in another creation, the same way he brought in this creation. So the point is why we worship God is to enter paradise. And the only reason why we're here is that we must know why we're going to paradise or why we're going to hell. That's the only reason why we're here. The Creator could have easily sent me to hell, sent you to paradise, because I knew what you was going to do. So how you know? You didn't test me. You didn't try me. So that's why I'm here. So you say you worship me. You say you would do my will. So all of us on earth are just being tested, being tried with everyday activity, with our action, deeds, and directed sayings and approvals. We're just being tried. So when we have problems like the bombing, it's the test of faith. We have problems with individual, marital couples, you've been tested. Whether you, Allah says, seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. Person don't want to learn nothing. He's like a beast. His mind, he's like an animal. Allah speak how some people are despised as apes. He revealed this in Al-Quran. Some people are despised as apes because they don't try to learn anything. They don't want to know anything. And always trying to take from others. You know, Allah says, if you don't strive to help yourself, I'm not going to help you. You take a step, he'll take another. He'll take two steps towards you. You take one step towards him, he'll take two towards you. I'm trying to take as many steps towards the Creator of the heavens and earth. If I could take 1 billion, then I know I got 2 billion coming towards me. You know, so that's the only reason why we're here. So, jihad, it is part of the religion. Now, does jihad define what happened in New York and at the nation's Pentagon? Those two leaders gonna have to get together and work it out. You know what I'm saying? But to attack Muslims worldwide because they believe in jihad, practice jihad, Muslims will always practice jihad. They will always believe in jihad because jihad means the struggle against evil, whether evil is within myself and evil in the world. That's the only way I can cause myself to bring myself to higher attainment, you know, on a rational, spiritual, academic, religious, political, and a model society level based upon the criterion of Al-Quran.
Okay. So why is it that certain believing Muslims kill such, as what happened?
Can you repeat that question?
Okay. Why is it that certain believing Muslims kill, such as at the Trade Center and the Pentagon?
Believing Muslims, as I have, basically the question that I, all that I explained basically answered that question. And Muslims as a whole, they don't believe in terrorism. It's against the Islamic law. Terrorism is straight out against the Islamic law. Allah tells us to seek peace. Now, peace is only one attribute. That's one thing I noticed about people. They say, I thought y'all was a religion of peace. But you're forgetting about the other 100 attributes. Peace is one attribute. You understand? Of course, Islam is a religion of peace, but you got the beneficent, the merciful, the sovereign Lord, the holy, the peace, the protector, the strong, the force, the majestic, the creator, the maker, the fashioner, the forgiver, the dominant, the force. You know what I'm saying? It goes on to the everlasting, the eternal, the merciful, which I already mentioned, the fashioner, which I already mentioned, the bestower, the subduer, the enforcer, the destroyer. That when we use I put the, because in Arabic it's like there was Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Al-Malik, Al-Qudus, Al-Salam, Al-Mumin, Al-Muhaymin, etc., Al-Mutakabir, different, but for a human being, it's like the indefinite article. You can be kind, which is another attribute. And the reason why I say a man carry, when I say man, I'm pertaining to all people. We carry 89 of those attributes. Allah has revealed 100 of those attributes to jinn kind. So this is the reason why peace is not just an attribute of Islam. All these are attributes of it. Certain Muslims believe that America is great Satan. You have heard this on television. I mean, this is the image that all Muslims hate America, but that's not true, because even when you look at the colonial and revolutionary war period, that 1619 to 1797, when we look at that period, we look at the documents that formed this country we now call the United States of America. We look at the fundamental orders. We look at the Northwest Ordinance. We look at the Constitution of the United States. We look at the Bill of Rights. Now, that is what made me saying, hey, this is America. These are even if we have an idiot as a senator, or whoever it may be, but that person don't define these documents. It is up to that individual, whoever, the people. They said democracy, democracy is ruled by the people. Ruled by the people. Of course, sometimes it make you feel like it demagogy, reckless rule by the people, because they're not educated. How can I educate? If you're uneducated, how can you go somewhere and vote conscientiously for, a good candidate? You just going, oh, I like him because I like the way he wear that suit. I'm gonna go vote for him. I like him because he promised to give us so many dollars. I'm gonna go vote for him. Now, you have a lot of American citizens who practice demagoguery, politics, because it's reckless rule then, because they're uneducated. But regardless of all these negative situations that surround political activity, it is these documents. And these documents, believe it or not, are based upon Al-Quran. If one look at the Constitution, look at the Bill of Rights, these are the documents that came up out of this book. And one would say, no, how can that be true? That's not true. Well, when you look back at George Washington, he was a Freemason. I'm gonna say he was a Mason. One thing you learn about Masons, once they get to the 33rd degree, they learn the first chapter in Al-Quran, which is Al-Fatiha. And Al-Fatiha reads as this: Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Idina siratal mustaqim, siratal ladina an'amta alayhim, ghayril maghdubi alayhim. This is what the Masons, where they become Shriners then, by the time they get to that point, this is what they learn about the book that formed the Constitution of the United States, the Bill of Rights. So that's why even in Islam we fight against even Shriners, because I was watching television one day, and this guy, this Shriner had Al-Quran right here in Cleveland, had Al-Quran on his fez. I think that's what they call them. The fez had. I was like, what? And I was surprised because I've seen Arabic names. I've seen Jamal, Jamil, Large Jamil. I've seen different Arabic derivatives of different, but I never seen Al-Quran, and I was like, I was amazed one way. Another way, I was very upset because they make a mockery out of our book, and this is the part that keeps me saying, well, you in America, this is this is how we're gonna roll this situation, because as I mentioned, the 19 and the 19, to give you the complete 19, you have the physical, the mental, the emotional, the realization, control, the will, and the infinite, which is the 7 I just gave you. And then you have the rational, the spiritual, the academic, the religious, the political, the model society, and you have the infinite again, which is Al-Quran. It speaks about all things. So that's why we say infinite again. And then you have the different perceptions of the mind. You have the intrapersonal, the interpersonal, you have the conscious, the subconscious, the superconscious, the magnetic conscious, you know. Then you have the infinite conscious again. But each time, remember that you said that's 21, 777. But when you hit the infinity level, it become bliss dash 1, because it's the same thing. And infinity is everywhere of all creation, not of the uncreated, but of all creation. So it's everywhere simultaneously. Infinity is right here, right now, but it's so abstract that we cannot touch it with the naked hand or see it with the naked eye. You know, and the only way you can feel it or touch it or see it is that, again, Allah take you to that level. You know, and He have taken men to that level, women, children. You know, so this is what showed me that this is God's country on that level. This is God's country on that level. But then when I'm dealing with, you know, people who manipulate the government, who are politicians who use the government, who are not being constitutional but being unconstitutional. You got different lobbyists, and they're trying to persuade the politician to vote this way, to vote that way. No, hey, the law of the Supreme Being say no alcohol, then there's no alcohol. You're not going to, you're not going to get me to sell it. So these are what our leaders of this country are going to have to do, because even when that incident happened in New York City, you had one of the ministers of the United States, you know, Billy Graham's son, he was saying, well, y'all been so concerned with money, wealth, and all this, now it's time for y'all to turn back to God. It's time for y'all to turn back to God. You know, people forgot about God. They were so focused on being successful and doing all this and didn't matter how they became successful, just as long as they attained their success, which has really become unsuccessful, even if you become a billionaire. You know, so it's time for this country to turn back to the Supreme Being, to turn back to God and say, hey, what is the law? What is the law? A couple people gonna go bankrupt, they're gonna lose this, they're gonna lose that. It's better losing those things than cause everybody to lose their life because of some, you know, person in charge, so-called in charge or in authority. So this is what's it all about.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, but we will be right back.
Students, now that we have studied the religious differences of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, with the understanding that we, as well as the philosophers of the past and present, do not know which came first between time and space, or space and time. Did time come first, or did space come first? But whichever, they both exist now. Would anyone like to express the differences, viewpoints, based upon the findings, difference based on religions and scientific beliefs? Habiballah? Habiballah?
Yes. Well, I would like to elaborate on both time and space. Based upon my little research and little findings, I have found that both came into existence at the same time, one cannot exist without the other. But due to the nature of time and space, we dealing with, they fall into three categories, which is the abstract, tangible, and intangible.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Would like you to continue your perspectives at a later date, if you would, because I myself find it very interesting and enlightening, and I'm sure the class does as well. Students, within the next few weeks, we're going to be studying the religions of Buddhism and Hinduism. So I want you to read ahead of your studies so that when we meet again, we can have intelligent conversation on these subjects. Thank you. Class dismissed.
I'm here with Imam Mahdi. I love saying that name. It's so cool. And once again, we are doing an Islamic profile. And next question I wanted to ask you was concerning people worldwide. How is it that the believing Muslims view the non-believing Muslims?
It's simple in a way, but it can be complex. And it's simple in a way because I'm just going to deal with the Jews and the Christians. Jews, Christian, Muslim, the believing Muslim basically believe in the same things, but there are a few things, one thing that really causes us to have different beliefs. Jews believe that there's only one God. Christians believe that there's only one God. Jews and Christians, alike with Muslims, believe that's one God. They also believe that angels exist, that God has angels, carrying out certain duties. Like Jews, Christians, and Muslims, they believe that the Creator revealed books to certain men. Jews, Christians, and Muslims, they believe resurrection. They believe there are judgment, which is last days, or the last day. And the reason why I say day is because judgment is always there. And once you die, you die. Why be so concerned about something that's going to happen? It's good to be concerned, but why focus on something going to happen not in your lifetime, let's say, hypothetically, because it haven't happened. But your judgment is over once you die. People not thinking that short-term life that they have, that short-term expanse. They got to say, well, my judgment day is when I die, because there's nothing I can do when I can't come back here and change anything. Mm-hmm. Whatever I did, so this is your judgment. So whatever you did, you got to be accountable for whatever you did. So, but then the greater day of judgment, when all shall be judged, and that's the results of whatever you did when you did exist. Mm-hmm. In this form. And then they believe, as I said, we say jihad. Christians believe, they don't use the word jihad. But I'll give you an example. Said Jesus was a man who was kind. He never said, just speaking what most Christians may say. But we also know Jesus went into the temple and he saw men gambling. And he was in rage and he kicked the table over in the temple. And he shouted at the men with great attitude not to gamble in the temple, because this is the temple of God, the creator of the heavens and earth. But, I know a lot of people may disagree, but he said Allah. He's from the Middle East. He wasn't from America. Mm-hmm. He wasn't from Europe. He's from the Middle East. So, he spoke Aramaic. Jews would say he spoke Ivrit, which would say Hebrew. But these are, just to give you an idea of what we believe. Mm-hmm. And see that Allah says in Quran, he said the Christians are nearer to you than the Jews or than any. So, because even the Christian help Muhammad ibn Abdullah, when he was in time of war, he was fleeing Mecca. They was trying to kill him, and, when he was just getting into the spirit of what he was about and what he was in the cause of, and they was trying to kill him with a city and this Christian leader protecting him in the city. He asked him a few questions, and this Christian knew he was a man from the creator of the heavens and the earth. He said, I better protect this man. So the Christian and Muslim, they have a special relationship, but you have certain people who try to diminish that relationship, and they got to focus back on Satan. Satan, he's constantly working. If he can turn me and you against one another, then it's on. This is Satan. Satan is ancient. He's not something that came up yesterday, or something that happened 100 years ago. He was back there when Adam, Eve, Cain and Abel, when Cain slew Abel, killed his own brother, and tried to figure out how to bury him. And he saw this bird scratching on the ground, and he buried his brother, and went to his father, and the father asked, where your brother? And you know what I'm saying? But Cain was turned out, and then later, Adam and Eve, they parted. But then, years and years later, Adam and Eve met each other again, and they had a son called Seth. And then the prophecy, a line kept going, because he taught his son Seth everything he taught Abel and more. So it was like the knowledge was still flowing, and that's why through all these prophets, the knowledge still flow. And even today it flows through all the believers. We can't, the prophet, Muhammad ibn Abdullah was the seal of the prophet, but he's not you got prophets and you have messengers. Prophets are messengers, but you got messengers who cannot be prophets, because Muhammad is the last prophet, the seal of the prophet. So even today, you have messengers, because they take exactly, if you take this Quran and you do exactly what it says, you're a messenger. You take out what this book says, you go out and you spread the message. So you're a messenger, but you're not a prophet. So that's the difference, But prophets was prophets and messengers, because it was revealed to them, and then they delivered it. The only thing we could do is take it and study and deliver it. So we become messengers. And the thing is, what we have, the difference between non-believing Muslims and believing Muslims is that the Jews believe that Israel is the son of God, and the Christians believe that Jesus is the son of God, and Muslims fight against that, because we look at it as being polytheists. And even sad to say, you have Muslims who put the name with Allah. They said, when you come to bear witness, they say, stop off what I'm about to get ready to say, but this is actual fact in the society of believing Muslim and all over the world. Not all Muslim, but a lot of them. And to be a believing Muslim, you have to believe in Tawheed. They have the belief and faith of the worship in the oneness of Allah. But you have some Muslims who say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasulullah. So how are you going to try to put something together that is not there? So the thing you can do, if you want to give it the long version, you have to say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa rasulullah. You're saying, I bear witness that there's no God but Allah, and I bear witness to the messenger of Allah, or the messengers of Allah. And that can be Muhammad, it can be a messenger, it can be an angel, it can be, but we cannot associate partners with Allah. Allah says in the Quran, say, I am commanded to only to serve Allah and not to associate anything with Him. And I invite you to serve Him, and my return is to Allah. So that's why we cannot, and that's the difference we have between the Jews, Christians, is that when they say Jesus is the Son of God and Israel is the Son of God, or they say Muhammad is they put him as a partner of Allah, that's a crime against Islam, and that's why you have Jews who are Jews, you have Christians who are Christian, you have Muslims who are Muslim, and that's our difference. Other than that, basically we believe in the same thing.
Okay. So, last question. In conclusion, do you believe that there will ever be a unified world?
There will be a unified world, there will be a unified world, because simple fact is that Allah has already revealed in the Al-Quran that Islam shall triumph over all religions in the world. Now, people may not want to believe that. People may not even want to accept that. But Allah also tells us in the Quran that let the Christians practice their religion, but not just as long as they don't go beyond the limits. Let people practice whatever they practice, as long as they don't go beyond the limits. And when you go beyond the limits, then just like the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights, you got all these different religions in this country. That's why I say, again, everything was written from the Quran anyway, but they just put another name on it. You understand? So you can practice anything you want, but if you break that Constitution, well, we got something for you. But as far as people being unified, that's when we go again at the profile of the Islamic belief system, the profile of Islam. This is it. They believe that Islam should triumph over all religion. And so if you say, well, we're going to out in the fire of Islam, or we're going to destroy Islam, or we're going to destroy people who believe in jihad, then you got two people who say they believe in God. Even Jews, even if you got the Jews in Israel or whatever, and you got the Muslims in Israel too, you know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? And this is a fight of belief, a fight. That's why they call it the holy war, and that's what jihad means. The holy struggle, the holy war, the struggle against evil, internal and external. That's why it's called holy, because you got three people who strongly believe that they're right. I'm a Muslim. I can't perceive a thought that book there's anything wrong in that book. That's why it's called belief, belief in faith. You know, a Christian may have a Bible and say, no, there's nothing wrong in this book. There's nothing wrong in my book. A Christian would say this. Yeah, a Jew had a Torah, but see, Allah mentioned the Torah in this book. He mentioned the gospel, the Injil. In this book, he tells us to respect those books, to study those books, because those are from the prophets, which you are descendants of. You know what I'm saying? So I have to read the Bible. It's not that I'm attacking the Bible. I'm not attacking the Bible. I'm attacking Constantine, who came up with the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, but 300 years after Jesus. Jesus ain't saying, he didn't say nothing about he was God. He said, why that's called thou me good? There's none good save one, and that is God. He said, I'm a prophet, mine indeed, work before God and the people, finding different verses. He trying to teach people how to worship God, but the people start worshiping him. So I got problems with Constantine or somebody like King James, who got the 47 scholars together, and Shakespeare and all these people who try to manipulate society by adding things to the Bible, or increasing these things in order to control society and make and make slaves out of people in the name of God. Those people I got a problem with. You know, I got a problem with the modern day Shakespeare, the modern day King James. I got a problem with the modern day Constantine. I got a problem with the modern day Cain. I got a problem with the modern day Nimrod. You understand? Those, but the average Christian, average Jewish person, they sincerely believe in God and who try to practice their religion, but they're gonna have to search. They're gonna have to search the knowledge. They're gonna have to come in contact with someone who really know their stuff, who is sincere, who is truthful, and they're gonna have to open up their mind and say, well, I'm gonna study, I'm gonna learn, because that's how I do it.
We reject as false the choice between our safety and our ideals. Our founding fathers, faced with perils that we can scarcely imagine, drafted a charter to assure the rule of law and the rights of man, a charter expanded by the blood of generations. Those ideals still light the world, and we will not give them up for expedience sake. And so, to all the other peoples and governments who are watching today, from the grandest capitals to the small village where my father was born, know that America is a friend of each nation and every man, woman, and child who seeks a future of peace and dignity, and we are ready to lead once more.
When I study Judaism, I go in there with the thought of believing the oneness of God. I don't bring my laws in with me like this. I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to feel what the Jews saying. I study their book and I try to live like how they understand, so I can get a full understanding of what is it that they believe, so that I can understand what is that I'm up against, or what is it that I'm trying to seek unity with. Same thing with the Christians, you know. So this is what the non-believing Muslim and the believing Muslim have as in far as differences.
Well, I can tell you this has been a very interesting interview. I've learned a lot. So I do thank you for joining us tonight. Good evening and welcome to Evening Interview. I'm Raquel Steinberg, your host, and tonight we are doing an Islamic profile with Imam Habibullah Subhan Mahdi. I hope you guys learned a lot out there. Thank you.
حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Because they make a mockery out of our book, and this is the part that keeps me saying, well, you in America, this is how we're gonna roll this situation, because as I mentioned, the 19 and the 19, to give you the complete 19, you have physical, the mental, the emotional, the realization, control, the will, and the infinite, which is the 7 I just gave you. And then you have the rational, the spiritual, the academic, the religious, the political, the model society, and you have the infinite again, which is Al-Quran. It speaks about all things. So that's why we say infinite again. And then you have the different perceptions of the mind. You have the intrapersonal, the interpersonal, you have the conscious, the subconscious, the superconscious, the magnetic conscious, you know. Then you have the infinite conscious again. But each time, remember that you said that's 21, 777. But when you hit the infinity level, it become bliss-1 because it's the same thing. And infinity is everywhere of all creation, not of the uncreated, but of all creation. So it's everywhere simultaneously. Infinity is right here, right now, but it's so abstract that we cannot touch it with the naked hand or see it with the naked eye. You know, and the only way you can feel it or touch it or see it is that, again, Allah take you to that level. You know, and He have taken men to that level, women, children. You know, so this is what showed me that this is God's country on that level. This is God's country on that level. But then when I'm dealing with, you know, people who manipulate the government, who are politicians who use the government, who are not being constitutional but being unconstitutional. He mentioned the gospel, the Injil in this book. He tells us to respect those books, to study those books, because those are from the prophets, which you are descendants of. You know what I'm saying? So I have to read the Bible. It's not that I'm attacking the Bible. I'm not attacking the Bible. I'm attacking Constantine, who came up with the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, but 300 years after Jesus. Jesus ain't saying, he didn't say nothing about he was God.
Mm-hmm.
He said, why that's callest thou me good? There's none good save one, and that is God. He said, I'm a prophet, mine indeed, work before God and the people. Finding different verses.
Mm-hmm.
He trying to teach people how to worship God, but the people start worshiping him. So I got problems with Constantine or somebody like King James, who got the 47 scholars together, and Shakespeare and all these people who try to manipulate society by adding things to the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
or increasing these things in order to control society
And
make
decrease,
and make slaves out of people
Mm-hmm.
in the name of God. Those people I got a problem with. You know, I got a problem with the modern day Shakespeare, the modern day King James. I got a problem with the modern day Constantine.
Mm-hmm.
I got a problem with the modern day Cain. I got a problem with the modern day Nimrod. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Those, but the average Christian, average Jewish person, they sincerely believe in God and who try to practice their religion, but they're gonna have to search. They're gonna have to search the knowledge. They're gonna have to come in contact with someone who really know their stuff, who is sincere, who is truthful, and they're gonna have to open up their mind and say, well, I'm gonna study, I'm gonna learn.